Hey you guys! So, if you don't know, I've actually recently moved back to America from Asia, and by recently I mean the last couple of days, and there are some things that I'm noticing that I'm already really missing. I don't know how long I'm going to be in the States and how long it'll be until I'm back in Asia, but there are some things that I really miss, and next week's video is some things that I don't miss, so stay tuned for that. But if you don't know, I have lived in Japan, Indonesia, and Hong Kong, and then I've traveled all over Asia as well. So some of these things are very specific to a specific region of Asia, and some of them are kind of Asia as a whole. So I hope that you enjoy this list of 10 things that I miss about Asia. So number one, I really miss just the helpfulness of strangers, and I know that sounds kind of sappy, but you know, if something goes wrong, like you get a flat tire and pull over to the side of the road, 5 people will stop immediately and will help you, and they'll stay with your bike while someone else takes you to get a new tire, whatever it is. We were in Bali and we were coming back and we had to stay in this tiny little city that we hadn't booked accommodation for, and we just thought we'd book something once we got there, and then it was evening and we couldn't find anywhere to stay, and this woman who owned a restaurant just dropped everything she was doing and walked us around for like 45 minutes, helping us to find somewhere to stay. She didn't have to do that. We did end up eating at her restaurant later, but she wasn't gonna get anything out of doing that. She was just so nice, and I found that all over Asia, and I really miss that. Number 2, I also really miss just the variety of exotic fruit that's really cheap for the most part and is fresh all the time. There are crazy alien fruit that we don't have here in the West, and they can make it into the most delicious juices I've ever had in the world. Some of those fruits I'm not gonna be able to get on this side of the world, and I really miss that. Number 3 is something that I really miss. Other people would not miss this at all, but I really miss my motorbike. I always dreamed of learning to drive a motorcycle, and when I moved to Indonesia, it was pretty much necessary to learn to drive it, and the traffic was crazy, and I don't really miss the traffic, but just driving my motorbike, I miss that so much. And I do want to learn to drive one here in the US, but there's just not that many people that drive bikes here, so I don't know. It's probably, oddly enough, it's probably more dangerous here because the drivers don't really know what to expect with motorcycles, whereas in Asia it's just mental all the time. So I really miss that. Number 4 is something that's probably really specific to an American or maybe a Canadian. If you're from Europe, this might not be as much of a difference as it is over here in America, but in Asia there are so many cheap destinations everywhere. You know, if you're in Indonesia, you can fly to Singapore or Malaysia so easily, or up to Thailand, and like in Japan, you can jump over to China, or if you're in China, you can jump down to Cambodia, or it's just so easy to jump from place to place and really affordable. If you're in America, even going up to Canada or down to Mexico is really expensive, and that's why so many Americans stay in America and they don't really leave because it's so big and it's so expensive to leave. Number 5 is something that I haven't really gotten to test too much because I've only been in the US for about a week, so some of this might have changed. But in Asia, there's Wi-Fi available almost everywhere. I mean, if you're in Hong Kong, there's Wi-Fi available in the subway. Like, I don't even know how deep a subway is, but very deep underground, you can have Wi-Fi. And even here in the US, I hate paying for phone bills, so I always get like the smallest data package possible, and I just rely on Wi-Fi to be able to get onto the internet or to be able to use WhatsApp. And it wasn't a problem at all in Asia because you can just get Wi-Fi pretty much everywhere, and I miss that. In the US, it's like you have to go to a coffee shop and you have to buy something to be able to get Wi-Fi. Number 6 is something that I kind of have a love-hate relationship with, and that is the markets. I hate them because I hate bartering. I hate it more than pretty much anything in the world, and I have a lot of thoughts on that. Maybe I'll make another video on that sometime. But I also love them because it's such a great place to go and buy little gifts for people, or get souvenirs, or get some street food or whatever. And I feel like every Asian country they have the markets, but each one is kind of different for their own country. So it's a really good place to kind of get into the culture and get to see locals and how they do their day-to-day lives. Next thing I really miss, and a lot of people feel the same as me in this, is street food. Street food is so good. Some people hate it, but most people love it, and it is so cheap. And like, I went to Vietnam and I did a food tour, and the food that we ate on this food tour was all street food, and it was by far the best food that I ate my entire time in Vietnam. And Vietnam is known for having delicious food, and their street food was the best. Just so cheap and just so readily available, and you get so much for so little. The next thing is probably the thing that I miss the most, and this won't be relevant to everyone, but last year I became a scuba diver. And I knew going into it that I was diving in the most exquisite places in the world. I mean, I've got to dive all over Indonesia, and I miss it so much. And I've already looked into different diving in the US, and I'm sure some of it is really, really nice, but a lot of it just looks like murky and dark, and what are you gonna see? And I'm so used to seeing like bright corals and sharks and sea turtles and amazing, amazing things. And I'm not gonna have that. So until I go back to Asia, I'm really not going to get to experience that. And I know I was so lucky, and that's a dream destination for so many divers. So I'm not taking it for granted, but I really, really miss it. Number 9, I really, really miss the ease and cost of public transportation. Whether you're in a big city like Hong Kong or Shanghai or Tokyo, you're going to have really, really great subway systems. I mean, the MTR in Hong Kong is probably the best public transport system in the entire world. It's so cheap, so convenient, so easy to use. But if you get into, Southeast Asia, you have motor taxis, which do take a little bit of getting used to, but once you do, they're so cheap and you get to places so fast. And then you have just regular taxis, which are really affordable, and now most countries have Uber. Now that I'm back in the US and I don't have a car, I'm really worried about how I'm going to get around unless I can borrow someone's car, because living out in the suburbs, things like Uber and taxis are not going to be affordable options for me. So I really miss that. And finally, number 10, something that I really miss is the clothing and the fashion in Asia. I'm not really into fashion, but I love the bright colors and I love the patterns and the fabrics, and it's all flowy, and well, not all of it, but a lot of it is flowy, and it's really inexpensive, and I love it. I love it, I love it. I finally feel like I have found the fashion that I really like, and I'm now in America. But, like this skirt. Little elephants and little pom-pom things. I love this. So there you have it. Those are 10 things that I really miss about Asia, and things that I will be very excited to see again once I get back onto that continent. Next week, I will be doing 10 things that I don't miss about Asia, so be sure to hit that subscribe button. And in the next couple weeks, I'm also gonna make a video kind of telling you what is gonna be coming up on Grace Goes Global now that I'm back in the States. Stay tuned, it's still gonna be really exciting stuff that I'm really stoked about. So, I'll see you guys next week. Bye.